Welcome to the Fellow Fellows podcast. I'm Pa, top 5% at one point in time, rhyme player, dad, casual, mediocre gamer, joined by my fellow host, Rose.
Hello.
1% Ardeos player, top 1.2,
Not quite.
1.2 technically.
Top
He's
1.2.
Yeah, well, how many characters do you have in Eternal or Eternal Ready at this point?
At least 4 characters that are Eternal Ready at this point.
4? Are you counting that rhyme? You can't count that
I
rhyme.
am counting that rhyme. I got a legendary. I cleared Ransack. I can go straight into Eternal 1 and nobody can stop me.
Okay, fair enough. All right. 4 Eternal characters. We're going to talk about Fellowship today on our inaugural episode of the podcast. How do you do, fellow fellows? All right, so we're going to start with patch notes. Did you have a chance to look over these? I kind of scanned them a little bit.
I got about as far as Ardeos, and then I was like, oh no, what are they doing to my boy? And stopped there. So.
I don't know, Ardeos is interesting. Yeah. As a former Ardeos main, I could see why you'd be concerned.
Indeed.
So patch notes, maintenance, blah blah blah. Before we get into the characters, let's take a look at the dungeons. This is the first dungeon tuning that they've actually done, so I think that it could be interesting. We have timer adjustments to Wormheart, Sailor's Abyss, Emperyean Sands, Uruk Markets, Godfall Quarry, Everdawn Grove, and Silken Hollow. How do you feel about these?
So honestly, when I look at the amount of time that they're adding to these, I have never finished a dungeon and thought, oh wow, I wish I had 15 more seconds, and then that would have been great. That's sort of where I'm sitting at with these.
Yeah, no, fair. My sense is, and I've scanned through them already, my sense is that these are going to affect the highest keys and the people that are still trying to get through Champion in a day. That's the sense that I get around most of these, with one major exception. Okay, I've got to talk to my kids for a second.
Statistically speaking, this happens every single podcast we've done. The children come in and he's got to manage them real fast.
All right, the children have been called to the living room. I feel as though the changes are definitely going to affect the top and the bottom of the player base. With one major exception let's go take a look at the changes to Emperyean Sands. Why don't you go ahead and read those for us, Rose?
So the Emperyean Sands are adding 20 seconds, unless we're talking about the entire changes.
Yeah, that's what I'm
in which
talking
case,
about.
the damage from the Tomb Guard's Reader's Whirlwind ability can now be blocked, dodged, and parried. So good for tanks. I mean, most DPS have a very low dodge chance, so you're not really looking to get much out of that. The Acolyte of Cenari's Wrath of Cenari ability damage is reduced by 59%. The Sin Magir's Ruinous Star Explosion can no longer be outranged, which is pretty huge. Knew that one was coming.
That's big, yeah.
The arena damage... the arena now has a barrier that activates in the doorway once the encounter is started, so you won't be able to leave anymore. The damage of Sin Magri's Ruinous Star Explosions has been reduced by 10%, and the health of them has also been reduced by 15%, which actually will add to the problem rather than help the problem there.
I don't know.
For the average player.
I think for the average player, they were too much. And so the reason why I think they were going off too soon, or they were all going off together, you had too many left standing more often, I would say. At least
most of the wipes that I was present for those was that DPS was killing orbs too quickly and outpacing the heals that any healer can provide. They needed to be staggered more in order to give heals time to recover. If you lower the health of those, they're going to die that much faster, and players are going to nuke them all and potentially themselves in the process.
Here's the tuning that I would have done. I would have multiplied the damage by 3 or something for each star. I would have reduced the number of stars by half.
Yeah.
I think the problem is that there's too many stars and nobody really has the damage profile to swap targets like that and do enough damage to reliably get them down. But I don't know. We'll see how it works out. I'm
Especially with the distance between each of those a lot of the times. I can see where trying to get enough down can be a problem, but more often than not, it was too many going off too quickly.
now is this with your major, big good groups, or is this like almost timed
This was
hugging?
like push groups where we're getting there with 8 to 9 minutes left, and then taking multiple attempts because people in general were not figuring out that they needed to stagger for heal's sake.
Yeah, so that's I think that you're seeing like maybe a more top end in lower uh content, where I know for me, running with my kids, I think I probably get a better sense for the average pug in like adept and champion. And
For sure.
I think it's more a matter of maybe you have one person understanding what's going on and switching to the orbs, and or even if two, but yeah, so I think it just ends up being that too many end up going off all at once at the end, where you have probably with the opposite problem with your groups.
Yeah,
um
I can see that.
so yeah, I think we're all looking forward to actually playing the last boss of Empyrean Sands now, but we'll see, we'll find out. It'll definitely be interesting.
I will miss the cheese though.
Yeah, no, the cheese will be missed. Executor didn't have a chance to see the cheese. Friend of the channel in chat, Executor. We're doing this live. You can catch it on Rose's channel at some point. I usually miss on Twitch, and at WoW Family Time on Twitch as well. Either one. Once Rose gets his setup figured out, it'll be at both of those places. In chat.
And the videos will also be posted on YouTube, don't forget.
They will be. We shared the channel earlier. I don't know if you were around for that, but we have subscribers now. At
Very nice, very nice.
At fellow fellows. How do you do, fellow fellows? Okay. So that was the major one to me that I saw. I think the damage from the Blades of Sithril, that's every place where there's a Blade of Sithril. That'll be good for tanks.
For sure.
You'll be able to kind of soak it to some extent, probably.
If you weren't already soaking it with good use of defense.
Right. Meiko will have a better time soaking it, I think is probably really what that means. It's kind of a Meiko buff. Let's see here.
Did you see the changes to armor? Because that is also a Meiko buff for the worst Meiko players out there, the ones forgetting to keep their defensives up.
I feel called out. I feel singled out right now,
No.
And I don't appreciate it.
I've never even seen a Meiko forget to have their defenses up.
That's never happened.
If it existed, this was buffing them.
Okay, so yeah, this is a big change, and it feels good. So we have cloth and leather armor adjustments here. So they've increased the amount of armor provided by cloth and leather items. Their intention was to have a noticeable difference between various armor types, but they thought it was too much. So they have basically buffed the base amount of damage on cloth and leather. And Meiko's kit has changed a little bit, basically so that Meiko's it looks like it's actually a pretty... How much of a difference is it at the base without it? It's a 10% buff. Basically a 10% damage reduction to Meiko without buffs.
Yeah, pretty close to that. Some of these abilities, or some of these changes, though, I have a feeling are actually going to nerf Meiko more than anything else. The increased armor Meiko was getting from her stone shield is being dropped to 20% per stone instead of 50%. So that means you can only get a max of 60% bonus armor instead of 150%. And I feel like that alone is going to put a big hit into Meiko's tankiness.
They actually explain it. It's actually a slight buff at every stone shield.
Okay.
Yeah. So they down below here they go into it and work the math out. I said the same thing myself when I looked at it. Yeah, I was like, I would have to do math for this, and I don't feel like it. So with no buffs, it's a 7.91 buff. With stone shield at 3, It's 68.17, was almost 67. And then it's a almost equal with the Spirited Armor proc to what it was before, but still slightly higher, and so on and so forth.
Interesting.
So it ends up being a Meiko buff. And honestly, I mean, I haven't watched Yoda or anybody who's pushing Meiko really high. At least from what I've seen, I think Meiko lags behind Helena overall.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that.
And I don't know if that's like base strength or just because the kit requires a lot more attention than Helena does. I don't know. What do you think?
I definitely feel like base kit and difficulty of play style. I mean, somebody like Yoda out there is probably having no problem at all playing it correctly and is probably as tanky as can be. But again, if you're looking at the average player, there's a lot more you have to track on Mako than you do on Helena.
Right. Ardeos, why don't you tell us what you think about these Ardeos changes? Did you actually read through them yet or not?
I have actually read through them. I'm gonna have to read the note portion of that, but the actual changes I did look through.
What's your gut reaction to the actual changes?
So my gut reaction is I do think you're going to probably end up with a higher spike in damage when you're using your incinerate, which that is we usually call it the ult for these characters. When you're using that, since they buffed it by 312%, the initial damage is going to be huge. They upped the dot damage as well by 62.5%. So there's definitely buffs to that damage. The one thing that I didn't like is that it no longer generates cinders. A lot of Ardeos' damage comes from stacking as many dots as possible and then consuming those cinders, snapping your fingers a bunch. You could get essentially 8 snaps in a row if you set up and then ult and then snap again. And now they took that away, trading it for an increase in initial damage from the ult.
Okay, so lower skill floor, higher skill ceiling. Or I'm sorry, lower skill ceiling, higher skill floor.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. You want to look at the notes and see what
Yeah, I was looking over that now. Looks like they're saying it was underperforming and not having an impact beyond generating cinders and extend the duration of the other dots that was on the target. They're trying to do this to reduce the ramp up time, it looks like, especially in the early game. As such, the ability no longer generates cinders and deals heavy damage on its own to allow Ardeos players to get into their big burst moments earlier. So,
yeah.
that's good. They also increased the direct damage of Apocalypse by 50%, which is honestly huge because
Such a long
already
cast.
your biggest burst spikes were already centered around Apocalypse, and now you're giving me an additional 50% to something that was already doing massive damage.
So are you looking forward to playing Ardeos more tomorrow or less?
I mean, I think he's going to be good. I don't think at the higher end, and I mean, they even say it in their note, I don't think at the higher end you're going to notice much of a difference at all in Ardeos damage overall. You will just be planning to nuke things with your ult now instead of as an extension to the dots you're already putting on there.
Okay. So it feels more like an ult.
Yeah, it will feel more like an ult.
Okay, cool. What did you think? Did you look at Tariq's a whole lot?
I have not got that far yet.
Okay. Basically, we are not really. We don't have a strong Tariq, and I don't think. But they took less. Yeah. They took the lightning damage out, and his other priest. So.
Which is a bit of a bummer for the little bit I've done on Tariq has been all centered around the chain lightning mechanic and way less around the heavy strike mechanic. I understand if you just look at myself as a player why they would want to make this change. They wanted him to have this sort of mini game that you're centered around so that you're distracted and missing interrupts. They said it themselves. They think it feeds into that berserk mindset for the lore of this character. But it's definitely time will tell whether or not that's an enjoyable playstyle change.
Well, and I mean, at the end of the day, as long as it furthers the lore of Tariq's character, it has been a burning question on my mind. I know a lot of the Fellowship community is very lore-heavy players, so I think we're all gonna
gotta know the lore.
I know. Why does Tariq fight? Why does he have lightning? What's going on? We all want to know. No, they do say that.
Motivation for
what's his motivation? Yeah. Yeah, the intent is to make the other legendaries and talents more competitive. So I do. One of the things I like about Rhyme is, well, maybe the cloak is it's probably not based on the leaderboards, but it does feel like the legendaries and the different builds are pretty balanced. So I think that's probably a beneficial thing to have for most of the heroes.
Yeah.
Anything else notable in here?
I mean, big rhyme changes for sure.
I know. Actually, this is we might just be able to we might not be a meta any longer.
Yeah. I will say, if that means you can now ult underwater in Wraith Tide, that actually
That's
is a
huge.
beneficial change.
That is huge. Rhyme. Yeah, that's big, and that's probably exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Yes. Or the rivers and high tide or sailor's abyss. That is really annoying, having to get your ults off before you go under high tide. So I look forward to that. That was annoying. Not world ending, but I'm glad that they care and that they're making good changes. Vigor fixed an issue where Vigor's orb would pull enemies too far beneath him. Now, I don't know if they're talking about the Z-axis or if there maybe is,
Definitely think they're talking about the Z-axis here. When I first read that, I was like, "Oh, this is going to be great. His orb will stop pulling."
Yeah,
but I do not think that's the case. I think it's purely if there are enemies below on another platform.
Yeah, no, I think it's that, and that's not exactly what I would think was high priority as far as altering Vigor's orb personally, but
the only thing I can imagine is looking back at Wraith Tide when we go on top of that boat and there is enemies below. That's really the only spot I can even think of where you're standing directly above
both on Wraith Tide. Yeah.
If you've got a route that's like stealthing past that entire bottom ship, you're going to run into problems if you've got a Vigor healer then.
True.
Without that.
True.
So maybe it was a bigger issue for other groups than what we've seen.
But also for regular people. If we could,
indeed.
If we could get it so that maybe Vigor's orb has a shorter range, that might not be horrible for the rest of us. Let's see here. The big nerfs to Sithril. They really actually, and so and you can, if there's anything else that you've scanned over on this that you think we should talk about, bring it up. But this leads into a discussion that I kind of wanted to have.
By all means.
So
I feel like we've touched on the more important things here. I mean, nerfs to dungeons. I think people can see those for themselves or experience them for themselves.
Yeah, totally. So Sithril has been reduced significantly, which to me would suggest that Sithril was the wall for people here, which is kind of crazy because I always thought second boss was more the wall there. At least in my experience, it's harder to get people to... That was where we always failed, I feel like, when we were struggling with
yeah.
But so if Sithril... So the bigger discussion that I think there is to be had here is their philosophy and the ways that they are trying to ensure that, let's say, the bottom 30% of the player base experiences the game and is able to progress, versus those of us who maybe have no-lifed a little bit too much or exactly the right amount. Right?
Indeed.
Rose is a no-lifer. I play a reasonable amount that a reasonable person would play. So how do you feel about the changes they've made? They've made big tank and healer buffs to damage and heals. Survivability to Elena, where she started out pretty squishy or needing a lot of babysitting from her. And then we're seeing nerfs to dungeons, what look to me to be dungeon walls, probably common pain point. What do you think? Is this the right approach?
So I honestly like this approach. I feel like if you compare to other MMOs, similar problems that they've had, they tend to cater towards the upper echelon of players. What are the top 2% having issues with, and let's make adjustments based on that. I think especially for a game like this, in order to not only draw in more players, but keep players that are not in that upper echelon around, is to maybe cut back on some of these harder checks early on. I do know Cithros Fall, for some of my below average friends, is definitely a harder dungeon than it is for the push group that I would normally be playing with. And I think it's a good path. I think you keep your game more noob friendly, at least in the earlier half of it, and let the difficulty ramp up later.
Okay. So for me, one of the things, and I know some people will disagree with me here, and unfortunately, in my opinion, the philosophy of the devs seems to be they just want healers to heal, pretty much. Vigor has a stun, but the amount of agency that healers get feels a little low to me. Like, you can buff their healing, so maybe they can save one missed interrupt, but from my experience in these games, and you've played WoW a lot longer than I have, you've got more experience, but in my limited experience, I think that healers and tanks tend to be the more cerebral players, the players that are paying attention more. I mean, part of it as a healer is that paying attention to the environment is in a lot of ways more in your job description than as a DPS. Where as a DPS, you're trying to max your damage. You might zone out for a second trying to hit something that, trying to min-max.
Trying to finish that channel, if you will.
Finish that channel. I've been guilty of it. Greeting. But so I wish healers had a little bit more agency, like a 30-second interrupt for both of them. Maybe an actual, maybe that, and some kind of minor but potentially significant CC from Sylvie. What do you think?
So I strongly agree, and I think that would be huge for the majority of players. I do think that there is workarounds for those problems that people aren't really latched onto yet. Sylvie, for example, may not have an interrupt, but she does have the ability to reduce the damage a mob is doing by 20%. A bunch of mobs, if she takes the talent to reduce their attack speed. But focusing on the reduce the damage they do by 20%, if, say, a big Ooga Booga Flame goes off and is guaranteed to do 100% of somebody's health, but she reduces that damage by 20%, she just saves someone's life without needing a kick. But you still have to have that same cognitive awareness that most healers are required to have in order to see that that's happening and do something about it. Personally, I believe that's the reason why Vigor has a stun instead of a damage reduction, is so that he can stop the interrupt then for those one-shot abilities.
There's a lot of travel time on that book. I will say there is a lot of travel time on that book. So by the time that you realize your DPS is gonna miss the kick, you don't. I would. Sylvie's instant cast, as long as you're off the GCD damage reduction, I think would be the stronger pick there. But
it's definitely the stronger pick. I will say, though, if everyone is doing their job correctly and has their little icon on the enemy, they should be able to see whether or not people are on cooldown for their kicks.
Well, for cooldown,
I feel like it's not the healer's job to get that interrupt. You're not throwing a book at that if somebody has marked that target and they have their face shown. Sylvie's not going to reduce their damage, and you're not going to stun as Vigor if somebody has marked that and is expected to kick. And if they don't, then their death is no longer your fault, or it's not in your agency to solve that problem. That's then the problem with the person missing the kick, in my personal opinion.
Well, and as a Rhyme who has never missed an Ooga Booga Flame, and always marks and always interrupts the proper target, I completely agree with you.
Yeah, I definitely, when I was on Rhyme, I'm starting to think it might be a Rhyme problem, not a you problem.
It might
I
be.
definitely did not let one go off almost
and
intentionally
kill me.
earlier.
Yeah, no.
As hilarious as that might have been.
It was pretty funny. I'll have to edit that in later.
Yeah. Put a clip of that
in
up.
post. Yeah, no. So to me though, I and maybe I'm wrong. I just feel like at the lower levels, the more agency you can put in everybody's hands, the better off the entire community. To
an extent. I do have one more caveat on this idea.
Yeah.
World of Warcraft eventually has gotten to a point where, because healers have so much agency, then they are expected to do more. It is, why wasn't you doing enough damage? Why didn't you CC these mobs? Why didn't you get that interrupt? You have 1-2 sort of deal. And for newer healers coming in, when they're still struggling to figure out exactly how their healing kit works, I think then you're throwing on an extra layer of, well, here's why it's the healer's fault that we didn't succeed.
Sure. No, that I agree, and you don't want that, but you also, I don't know. I don't know the answer to this, but I feel like just a tad more agency would not be. I mean, at the top level, you're expected to use all your kit, right?
That is fair.
At the bottom level, it's usually one or two people kind of hard carrying the other 3 or 2 people,
Almost always. So that's where the more people that have the ability to hard carry at the low levels, the more people complete dungeons. Now, I also, and let's bring this caveat, and I think it's related to yours. The toxicity that comes after you hard carry somebody or fail to hard carry somebody. I don't know. I don't know if you can get around that. I don't know how it matters how much agency you give any particular hero or player. But I do think that maybe there's a case that, well, the more ability there is to carry, the more toxic stuff happens in lower levels. I don't know. I want to heal. I want a little more agency when I heal. How about that? Yeah, very understandable. I feel the same when I am healing, especially if I'm healing on Vigor. I wish he had more options to help the dungeon succeed, more than just, hey, I put health back in your health bars.
Yeah, and there's I mean, he does have a damage reduction. And you can talent where it goes on you too. But anyways, normally you're using that in case your tank is about to fall or and normally you are assessing at the beginning of a dungeon, who am I going to need to be babysitting?
I do wish his talent reduction was closer to the trinket, where it was more of a group-wide defensive, because you run into the same problem. If there's a one-shot that's not getting interrupted and you're not going to get that in time with your book, you can't just guess, okay, well, I bet this is going to hit Rhyme, let me give him a damage reduction. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like, then you're rolling the dice, if you will.
Right. No, 100%. 100%. Xander in chat says, we got a super chat from Xander. I think interrupts are sort of unforgiving, especially to new players. I think having the healer have a kick as well would help instances of overlaps, misses, etc. Yeah.
This is true.
Yeah, they are. It is pretty unforgiving. And as they change, as they tune down the various dungeons, it may be less of an issue. And then it will be interesting to see once they finally release new dungeons, do they decide to undertune stuff from the beginning instead of having to tune down later? Because this is more of the way that they're doing it right now is more of the WoW philosophy, where everything starts kind of overtuned, and then as the season goes on, they tune down. I would prefer to see people doing higher keys, people having a better experience earlier.
The one reason I don't believe that healers will ever end up with an interrupt, unless they really rethink their strategy, is there's multiple bosses that they have specifically designed around people rotating the 3 interrupts you have the entire boss fight. You add a 4th interrupt into that cycle, and it almost makes the mechanic irrelevant.
Right. Wormheart, Stormwatch, yeah. Totally. Totally. Okay. All right. Moving on. We're doing a tier list. Welcome to the Fellow Fellows tier list, where Rose and Paw are going to rank the Fellowship heroes from the easiest to play to the hardest to play. We've chosen to use the Taco Bell sauce naming convention to describe it, as we believe it is something that most gamers will be able to relate to. Rose, why don't you go ahead and take it away and tell us what you think the most difficult to play character is?
All right, let's see. The most difficult to play character has got to be Mara. I think Mara has a great kit, and I think if you can ever master it, she could probably really pump. I've seen them absolutely decimating in dungeons, but let's be honest, that is the most confusing kit that Fellowship has cooked up so far.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a high skill ceiling character. And most of the players that I've encountered in solo queue have not been anywhere near this skill ceiling. It's usually
not even.
Well, I have not actually done a whole lot on it as far as playing it myself, but Little John has, and it's clearly not an intuitive class to play. All right, go ahead and let's think about easiest hero to play.
That is probably going to be a Larian for me. I think, especially if you're coming from World of Warcraft, Larian's kit is very similar to some class you might know from there. And I gotta say, borderline boring for myself, but it's good. It's nice and easy.
It is Marksman Hunter, which is, it's not Beastmaster Hunter, so there's that. It could be easier still. Well, we got a couple super chats. Rose looking beautiful as always this episode. I know.
Thank you. Thank you, Zach.
And then we have Soundwave. Rhyme feels like a mild to me. Let's put Rhyme on here. And I would say, so Rhyme initially looks that way. I will say that. Rhyme is easy to pick up and to perform mediocrely, as I am evidence of. However, Rhyme does have a lot of potential min-maxing and is very legendary dependent. Like, you could end up with a fairly different rotation. So you can have anything from, I don't have to really think about this, I press the buttons when they light up, to a build that's like, I have to kind of manage this minute cooldown so that I can extend my 20% damage buff and get 90% uptime from it. And I need a tank that will chain pull for me to make that happen. So I could see the argument for Rhyme being mild. I think I would put it a level above Valerian. Thoughts, Rose?
Now, if we're talking purely difficulty to play, I might be with Soundwave on this one, that it is a mild. The fact that you can put your talent points basically wherever you feel like it on Rhyme and do relatively similar damage for the majority of the game, I think makes him easily in the mild category for newer players. Now, I do agree that in the upper end of things, the min-maxing for Rhyme becomes maybe one of the more difficult characters to really crank out that extra damage if you're trying to top out over other builds.
It's a low skill floor, medium skill ceiling, I think is probably true. So we'll put it in mild. We have a consensus. Chat has spoken. And Rose has agreed. All right.
Leave it to the Rhyme main to say that Rhyme is difficult.
I'm not saying it's difficult. I was not even going to put it anywhere near Mara. Okay, I'm not delusional. Fair. I just understand it the most out of all the characters, and how much I don't understand it.
That is fair. That is fair.
A Conte sauce, says Xander. Is that a reference to Papa B? Is that because Papa B is playing? I feel like it might be. There might be a little bit of color there. All right. I guess we should continue on with the DPS. You want to do Tariq or Ardeos next?
Let's do Tariq next, just because I really feel like Tariq is either the difficulty of Mara or the simplicity of an Alarian, depending on whether or not you choose to follow the minigame that Fellowship devs have decided they want you to play.
Well, with the upcoming
Indeed.
patch, I think that we are going to see it probably at least be fire. I think
I would definitely say it's probably looking to be in fire with the changes they're making. They're borderline forcing you to play their mini game if you want to do big
if you
as
want to.
Tariq.
Yeah, I agree. It has been probably in the mild category, but with the patch, it's probably going to end up being one of the more difficult characters.
Yep.
All right, and we've got Ardeos finishing up our DPS section. Ardeos, where does Ardeos belong?
I would say Ardeos honestly belongs in the hot category. There are a plethora of different builds for Ardeos, so he sort of has that same put your talents where you feel like they belong as Rhyme does. But he does have a little bit more nuance to the order of operations in which you use your abilities and whether or not you're pooling resources to snap with enough dots on there and that sort of thing. So I'd say he's probably just sitting in hot. You're it's not the most difficult thing by any means.
I was worried we were going to end up with nothing in hot, so that works perfectly. It's perfectly balanced, as everything should be. And I have lost Rhyme somehow.
Rhyme is just gone. Rhyme was so mild, he actually did fall into the picante sauce category off screen.
Rhyme is milder than the hunter guy, and I thought that was a really good point. It's probably not milder than the hunter guy. It probably belongs above Larian. So now we have the most difficult part of the tier list, the healers and the tanks. You want to do tanks or healers first, Rose?
Your call, dealer's choice on this one.
So let's start with tanks. And I am going to... So for these categories, I guess we'll just go with Diablo and Fire, since there's only two possibilities. It's either harder than or less hard.
You don't think any of the tanks or healers fall down into at least the hot category?
Oh, I would actually argue that they might fall into the mild category. Honestly,
interesting.
So I guess we'll just use this and we'll see how it goes. Go ahead. Where do you think Helena belongs?
I mean, since the buffs to Helena, I would say honestly probably hot or fire. It's a tough call. Reason being is although it is less difficult than Mara, there are so many things that can go wrong if you're not playing it correctly as you move up into the more difficult content. Early game, mild for sure.
Yeah.
But once you're, I mean, even at 300 plus eye level, where you're out gearing Ransack, one wrong use of a cooldown in a big pool, and there is no recovering from that.
Yeah, no. So all tanks and healers, you have to know your kit, and you have to be able to, once you start to get into difficult content, you have to be able to use it properly. You have to know what you're pulling when, how to keep your defensives rolling properly. If you've got enough where you can pull big for people so your DPS can pop off, or if you need to wait. And so there is just they're going to be harder. They're going to be harder. You would put, what do you think, hot or fire? Would you compare it more to
I'd put them in fire just because right now, looking at it, I don't like that it looked like Helena's easier than Ardeos.
Oh, sure.
Throw them up there behind Tariq, and we'll call it a day for Helena.
And I would say Meiko, if Helena goes there, Meiko goes there.
So I disagree, and I'll tell you why. I think Meiko goes. Oh no, I actually do agree with her behind Mara. I thought you were saying if Helena goes in fire, then Meiko goes in fire. No, I strongly agree with Meiko in Diablo tier, just behind Mara, and I think it's the fact that you have to track your buffs. It's not just about did I hit a button to keep a defensive. It's did I do my right punch combo?
Did I hit three buttons properly to do it?
Yeah.
And if I know, and if all of a sudden I see that it's falling off, do I have 2 buttons to hit or do I have 3 buttons to hit? And And that goes
Do
both.
I have time to hit them before it falls off?
Right. And if I don't have time, do I have the cooldown where I do press the button and it pops off? Well, the button and the click, depending on if you have click to confirm turned on.
Fair.
Meiko is definitely requires a lot more cognitive processing power. I can tell. Maybe not a lot more, I would say. Yeah. So that would be our tanks. Meiko is definitely going to be. You're going to have to fight harder to get to the same place. Which some people like that. Some people like having to be fully engaged. I probably should have picked Helena as my tank alt.
Had they done the buffs before you picked your tank alt, you would have.
Had they? Yeah, probably. I just went. I went and rolled a Meiko because Rose said Meiko is definitely better.
Meiko was Biss.
Meiko was Biss. Yeah. And you were healing, so it's understandable that you'd want me to take the, at the time, easier to heal one.
Indeed.
All right, so now we have our healers. And actually, I've played Sylvie. You've probably played enough of Sylvie and Vigor to be able. I've not really touched Sylvie, so I don't know if I've run a single dungeon on Sylvie.
I can definitely take care of Sylvie's ranking, but I think you should take care of the Vigor ranking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go for Sylvie, and I'll do Vigor.
Oh, you want me to go with Sylvie first? All right. So I would put Sylvie, honestly, just above Tariq and Fire, or just behind Meiko and Diablo. It's funny because if you outgear the content on Sylvie, she can be the easiest healer in the game.
Okay.
If you are undergeared for the content, you have to have so much awareness, not only of how your character plays, but in how the dungeon plays, in what all the mobs do, in which mobs are a threat, in which boss abilities are a threat. There's so much knowledge required for Sylvie that I definitely think it is probably right behind Meiko as far as difficulty.
Sylvie is Diablo. So I've not gotten high enough or comfortable enough with Vigor to where I feel. So there is no Resto Shaman heal in the game right now. Make a WoW comparison. There's nothing I think that probably approaches the level of, you have maybe 5 buttons to really think about and top everybody. You're still having to think a lot more. Interesting. I think I'd put it in Diablo 2. At least from what I've seen so far, if Helena is in Fire, it's either going to be at the spiciest end of Fire, or it's going to be at the picanteest level of Diablo. What do you think, though? Because you have played. I think that you.
I have played quite a bit of it.
Okay, you've played quite a bit. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I definitely agree. I think it falls into that sort of spot. Very similar in some ways to a Disc Priest in WoW. Maybe if you combined Disc and Holy, if you're looking for a WoW comparison there. But yeah, definitely both healers right a little bit on the more difficult side.
Okay. So where's the final? I'll let you make the final call for this.
Honestly, throw right behind Sylvie.
Okay.
Because let's be honest, if you're healing, it's hard. It's hard work. You have to have a lot of knowledge.
So it's funny, having healed and tanked and DPS'd in this game, I think that your success in a dungeon falls mostly on the tank's shoulders. However, I think that as a healer, healing is more stressful than tanking in this game. And definitely, if the tank is doing their job properly, then you share the same amount of responsibility. Like if a tank doesn't know what they're doing, they kind of go off half-cocked, it's not going to be, the healer probably is not going to save it. But if the healer's operating proper, or if the tank is operating properly and knows their limits, kind of has a read on what the group can do, the healer's job is pretty comparable. You think that accurate?
Yeah, no, I strongly agree.
All right, so there you have it. Play the character that you think is fun. And
at the end of the day, play what you enjoy.
Play what you enjoy to the level you can, and when you don't, wait for the next reset and try something different or the same one. All right, healing is hard in this game, Executor. Dwarf is Holy Pally and Holy Priest. Vigor is equivalent of Disc Priest difficulty. Yeah, no, I mean it's a lot. It's a lot, you know. Not nothing. So interesting. Okay, do you have anything that you wanted to hit in the pod? In the pod, Rose, any segment that you?
I mean, I feel like we covered the important parts. We got the patch notes. We have the hero tier list. It sounds like a dungeon tier list is going to have to wait for another day.
Actually have to do work for that. Nobody's done the work for me there. Yeah.
Nobody's done any work.
It's a shame. We're too early to the game.
Exactly. They need a template already set up for that.
All right. How about if any of our super chatters want to join us in Discord, maybe we could have a little bit of a free discussion. If anybody's interested for like, I don't know, 15 minutes or so. I told my wife I would have dinner at 6, so that's the rough, hard deadline. Drop dead deadline. Arkham, come on in, dude. Come on into the studio with us.
We are first guest for the fellow fellows.
There he is. Our first inaugural guest on the fellow fellows. Yeah, you know, chilling, man, chilling. How's fellowship been treating you? Do you want to give us a little gaming history on yourself?
20 years of WoW and nothing else. No. As far as fellowship, I bounced around to a few of the tanking class, DPS class, trying to do something different than WoW. And ended up realizing that I couldn't play as much as everybody else around me, so I had to stick to one team. So I chose a healer. I don't remember how we chose that, but it happened. And I think you've all regretted it since, because you're stuck gearing me every time. No, it's good. It's not a game that I think because it's going to be like Overwatch and the concept of new characters being added to it as the game goes along. I think that's going to be beneficial because down the road I'll be able to pick up a DPS or go back to tanking or something.
Yeah.
But if I can stick with one tune and gear that one tune, this is the type of game that will allow you to do so.
So let's talk about resets, because this is actually, I don't know if you followed along, but the Hamish, the community manager on one of the dev live streams, kind of casually let it drop. Oh, we're going to have our first reset in December. I don't know how many hours you've got in the game so far. Feel free to look on Steam if you want and let us know. But for you, not having a lot of time, how do you feel about the reset path and all that? And what are your thoughts?
I'd have to see what it all entails. As far as, I mean, if it's going to just do a complete Diablo-style setback, then I'm okay with that, I think. Because if it puts us all on the same level playing field, I'll still be behind in 3 days, but Rose will be on his 75th character, and so he'll carry me through something, I'm sure. But
very true.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does bounce. Like I say, it does give you the chance to go. Okay, I'm gonna try and stay in group with everybody and try and stay on target with everybody. And also it lets me go, okay, well, I'm going to tank this round. You guys can heal, because the only problem with me choosing one tune is if I'm on and playing with anybody, I'm healing, which means they normally don't get to heal. And I don't like that. That is something I'm not a fan of. So
sure.
I'd rather be able to let you play what you feel like playing, and I can jump on another tune. Like in WoW, I have everything, or I roll a druid who can do everything. So
yeah, that would be interesting to see if they come up with a hybrid hero at some point. But
yeah, I mean, talents would be kind of cool. Our class talents, and I'm sure 5 years down the road they'll if this game is around, they might look at that. But that, and then again, whether or not the dungeons are going to keep up.
Sure. So the reset initially during like the next one, they've said basically all of your rewards track is going to be reset. So there's not going to be any you're going to have to re-earn your talents and stuff. And I hope for that instead of resetting all the talents and then you have to go get score to it, I think it would be a lot better if all of the talents were on the left side of the tree, where you just have to run a certain number of dungeons to unlock them. And then where they're giving you talent points on the other side, they give you random lower level legendaries. Because at least with Rhyme, and I know this is not every hero, depending on the legendary that you have, you're going to be playing pretty differently. And once you get a legendary, it's a huge power spike. So I would like to see a little more front loading of the talents instead of putting them behind IO. But so that's all going to get reset. The dungeon score is going to get reset. I'm pretty sure that we're actually going to have the same dungeon pool on the reset, is my guess, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I don't know if you've spoken to that exactly. And then
it's a bit early, so I would imagine it would.
Yeah, what was that, Rose?
I said I don't think that they've touched on that yet, but I imagine that they're going to stick with the same dungeon pool. And to your point, I'm pretty sure from my experience, every character basically requires that some form of legendary to hit those big damage spikes.
Yeah, or even to think about how you're. Yeah, I mean, you get a free legendary once you've timed the ransack of Drakheim.
Okay.
So
you've beaten the game.
The Paragon one, you're going to get a legendary there. Now, what's unfortunate about that is that legendaries vary greatly in power.
So they're not scale. Okay, yeah. Well, we've experienced that in games. It is a very difficult thing to do. I mean, if they're not stupidly overpowered with some characters, and if it's close, I'm okay with that. The math will work out. They'll get a better handle on it down the road. But I mean, it's brand new. Just came out. It's kind of odd that they would reset in December, but I guess that's enough. Yeah, that's good enough time for it. Is that going to be a rotational thing every 3 to 4 months?
They haven't said exactly how long. I mean, basically, they said the December thing. I think that there was a large portion of the community that would probably be more on the casual end that were like, I haven't even had a chance to play the game yet. How are you going to reset me and make me do all this?
That's what I was thinking too. Like, if people are still being introduced to it, yeah.
Which I totally understand. And I think that the developers are in this place where they're coming out of, like, we're just shipping fixes, bugs, new stuff every day to our local environment, our test environment, right? And so they're like, well, let's go again. And it's like, you've semi-released the game now. You probably got to think a little bit more judiciously about making sure that everybody has a chance to kind of experience a little bit of the season at least before you're just going to go and reset it. Even though it is going to be a game that resets, my guess is they end up in 3 to 4 month reset.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think they're going to end up going with a longer cycle, definitely. And like you're saying, it's time to come out with content and put it on a shelf somewhere instead of immediately pumping it into the game. You got to give people time to play what's out, more than just the top end players. You need everybody to see the whole game, and then you start pushing new content.
Right.
Yeah, I hope they're not catering to their 1%. Well, I guess in this case,
so far they have not been.
3%.
So far they are definitely catering towards the lower eye level group of players, so to speak, and I'm here for it. I think you cater to the less advanced players, you'll end up with more players online
overall, and more advanced players in the end as well.
Enjoyable.
And I will say that they are hearing that part of the community, and in a lot of ways kind of did at least short-term damage to their player count, because the numbers went from there's like 20 to 30,000 people online to like there's like 9,000. I don't know what the player count is right now, but and in a certain sense the hardcore base would have fallen off a little bit faster, but I think there was probably some whiplash where even they lost people that would have played more. But by changing it and saying, no, we will, I mean, they didn't say this exactly, but the effective PR message is, okay, we are going to listen to the more casual people. They definitely, I think, probably took a player hit count in the short term.
Yeah, no, I think so. And it's got to be hard when you're dealing with predominantly two groups of people. You've got the people online that are like, so what, the game's just over after you get 10K rating, dead game. And then you've got people that are like, hold on, you can't reset yet, I'm just getting started. So trying to appease both sides of that is definitely going to be a hard balance to find.
Yeah, I think they need to find their focus and stick with that, get a strong foundation there, and then see where they can go to branch out. And I also want to know where their revenue stream is going to come from to continue the game forward.
Sure, they're gonna
transactions.
They're gonna have a cash shop. They're gonna have a cash shop for skins and all that.
Okay.
Potentially
I'm okay
battle passes, but they've made a strong commitment that there will be no buying legendaries, no buying any kind of player power at all, because gold is not tradable or anything like that. Like if they were to make it so that marks or supplies or gold was buyable with cash, that would probably be the end of the game. I mean, it would be the end of the game for me, sure.
It ruined Destiny.
Drive themselves into the ground for sure.
I think they learned. Yeah, I think they've learned that that's not the route people want. And again, you want people playing your game long term. You don't want quick in and out type players.
Yeah, and you want to. And what's cool, what I like about this compared to WoW, WoW wants to be the only game you play. So I'm sure we have all experienced at one time or another. And this is a game that you play it while you're enjoying it. It only costs 25 smackaroos to get in the door. You don't have to pay anything more. And then once you're done for a season or more, you just go play something else.
And that keeps it fresh. I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I am. Like right now, I'm like, I need to get on there and finish grinding out the mounts in WoW, and then I'm just like, no, I'm good. I'm finally done it for 20 years.
I actually enjoy my life outside of WoW.
I get so much done. Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah, but no, I always said I'd be a millionaire now if I hadn't played WoW, and I firmly believe that. I was working in film. I was working in film when I started playing WoW, so it took a big hindrance there.
You traded a career in Hollywood for
well,
for
the writer's strike helped. The writer's strike helped a lot too, then. So
okay,
but it's a long story. But anyway, yeah, I always said though I would be a millionaire because I would have been like, yeah, I'll take those extra jobs. No, I'm gonna raid this weekend, that kind of thing.
Sure.
But so this casual play style is great for me. I've got I don't have a lot of free time anymore, and so. And I literally log on. If I don't see you guys on, I'll go off and do other things.
Yeah.
And I know that hinders the long game. But if we're looking at that short of resets, I'm not too worried about it because if I keep playing the same tune, I know the tune.
It'll be quick to
so I can always revert back to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's good.
Think that's one of the reasons why they were looking for a shorter reset. Just back to the revenue thing, is I'm pretty sure they're planning on new heroes. New heroes means new skins, new bundles, so they can make their money faster with shorter resets. But you have to find that balance between, do I want to make money from the cash shop or do I want to make money because people are still playing the game and talking their friends into buying the game, sort of deal.
You make a lot more money the more players you have. And you're going to run a lot of people off with a short reset. Now, they can't do like 6 to 9 month seasons like WoW. Like they can't do that, obviously.
Yeah.
But 3 to 4, I think they'll be.
How long is the Overwatch seasons? Do you know?
I don't know.
I do not know.
They're in that. I feel like they're in that 5 month period, 4 month period, maybe 4. Yeah, Diablo's resetting a lot too. So I'm sure they're paying attention to what's going on. They're seeing what works elsewhere.
Yeah.
I enjoy the game, but I don't enjoy soloing in the game because I chose a healer and it's a little bit challenging sometimes. If I was a DPS, I wouldn't care as much. And I enjoy learning new dungeons, but I don't like hindering other people when I'm learning new dungeons. It's like I've been in dungeons where I'm like, oh, I did not know that mechanic existed. Okay, my bad.
Right.
We'd brick a key or something because of that, which is part of the game. I understand. So, swapping dungeons out is good. I just have to be there when that happens and stay on it to learn those dungeons. especially if I'm healing, because I need to know what's happening, what's going to happen,
Yeah.
and whatnot. So,
well, and I think this is another thing I'd wanted to talk about was penalties for leaving and incentives for getting people to stay and teach people how stuff works. I know that if you've solo queued in this game, you will know what it's like to have a healer or a tank insta quit before you even select a dungeon. Can't say I'm not guilty of seeing the potential of a group in the first pull or two, and I would kind of like to make some progress, and I might have a short play session, and I'm like, GG guys, better luck next time. So yeah,
that's something that we have to decide on ourselves as players. Is that what? Because I've always enjoyed teaching people WoW. I love teaching people dungeons and all that kind of stuff, and that I had a blast with that previous expansions. And in here, if I was knowledgeable about that, I would have no problem sitting with people because you're going to keep them around.
Sure.
And right now is when we have to build that foundation for the game. Otherwise, we'll just have a bunch of 1%ers who won't put up with us down the road, concept. So, and again, I'm wondering if they're playing because they enjoy it, or if they're just playing because it's new content to put on YouTube,
sure,
stream, that's kind of thing. We were done with WoW. We were pretty much bored with WoW a couple years back, and we were just doing it because there's nothing really else to do, and that was our social aspect. But this could very easily replace that game, which I think it may have for me.
Sure.
But
so I actually I wish that there was an option to queue up when I have more time, when I'm feeling like, okay, let's go teach people, right? And then that there was a queue that was like, I kind of want to progress. So the way that in WoW's LFG, you can say completion, trying to time, etc. And I know that having separate queues increases the queue time for everyone. This is the queue thing. But if they can build the player base, and I think it might actually help to build the player base, to have people have an option to say, I don't mind taking people through the content, at least until we get to the point where it's like, we literally don't have the item level for this. We don't have whatever. Versus I'm trying to make some progress right now. So super chat from Emma, is there a way to communicate with the devs to ask for that? So they've got a Discord. I'm hoping, I think that they're monitoring YouTube, TikTok, etc. pretty well, and I'm hoping I will drop a suggestion in their Discord. I'm sure they'll love it. I'm sure they get lots of suggestions, but I think that the team feels very close knit and small, and trying to be in touch with the community right now. So we'll see how it goes. Now, there's also,
I think too, they're going to be open for any progression based stuff for their future. So they'll definitely be looking for ideas.
Right. Rose, how do you fix the lever problem, or does the lever problem need to be fixed? As a prolific lever himself, Rose might have a couple things to say about this. Known sociopath,
I have a
Rose.
couple things to say. Hold up. Definitely, there's something to be said for people that are willing to stay and teach and help people through. Some would say even borderline carry people through. I feel like those people should be rewarded for doing so, and really that just comes down to better, I don't want to say better drops, but maybe like more materials at the end of the dungeon. Give people enough incentive that it is more valuable to finish. Actually, here's a brilliant idea. What if for every dungeon you complete without leaving, you have increased material drops? Like it multiplies based on successful completion.
And then it resets if you leave.
It resets if you leave. Because I agree with the idea of why are we punishing people for leaving if I join a queue and we get in there and first mini boss, we've got 3 people dead and I'm standing there solo tanking for 5 minutes and they're trying to decide whether or not to even release and come back. And then inevitably it's like, okay, you've taken 5 minutes out of my time that now I either have to try and make up, which then adds more risk, which then causes more problems, or I just leave because I'm going to have an instant queue as a tank.
Sure.
And find
Correct. That makes a lot more sense in the sense of those are players that really aren't into, their heart's not really in it. They're just kind of looking. They're not going to be long-term players. They might even just be kids, or something of that nature.
Children do play
But
this
people
game.
who don't
I
know,
can attest to that.
Yep.
and we can all attest to that because we all know.
We all had to deal with it.
That's why I no longer play a mage. That's why Rhyme is sitting there like this is.
Is Rhyme still your highest geared character?
No, my healer is.
Okay, Vigor's better now. Okay, or Sylvie.
Sylvie.
In
Yeah,
hindsight, I really think you should main a DPS. I do feel like it's a little bit easier to squeeze in a DPS. I don't know whose crazy idea it was to force you on to
I don't.
healing.
We couldn't find a healer, and it was originally think Little John, and I was playing Rhyme, and then he wanted to take me,
and then he goes
and
into
you were
something
wanting to
else.
DPS, and so I was like, fine.
Indeed.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah,
And then Neil, in the
Rose-
reset, maybe I'll do that because.
Rose is gonna make me heal again. Yeah.
I am. It's bound to
Oh,
happen.
are you? Oh, it's been chosen. Okay.
Well, and the thing is, if we want to push on the reset, like a tank healer combo is kind of hard to beat. You have your pick of the litter.
It is best for pushing for sure.
Yeah.
And Pa is one of the best healers I know.
Not currently, but I could get back there.
He puts health and health bars. That's all you got to do.
The Executor is the best healer we know.
I didn't impress Rose much in the past couple of weeks, did I?
You've been doing great.
You're learning.
Oh,
man.
don't even start
You're
with me. I don't
learning.
need your credit. You back off.
You're learning. I probably
You're doing
will have to
great.
try Squirrel Lady. I'll have to try Sylvie.
When
Yeah, a
is
social
that?
credit system. That's what we need. I coming back to this quick before we go anywhere else. I think Rose's idea of buffing the completion rates, buffing your material and gem drops for completion.
Gem drops would be huge too. Yeah.
Gem drops would get so many people to like. I mean, my fear with that system is that you increase toxicity in chat. And actually, one of the reasons that I like that you can't chat between servers, because I am very Jaffafa. Thank you for the Prime sub. I really definitely like that, like, people who are already a little toxic don't have the option to message me and whisper me after stuff right now. It's kind of beautiful. May increase AFK behavior too. I don't know about AFK, because once you're AFK, the rest of the group is probably not continuing. There's very few times outside of like a quick play scenario at the very lowest levels that would even make sense.
Yeah, you're going to lose your drop rate multiplier if you AFK and other people leave, because it's not just about whether or not you left. It is based on, did you enter a dungeon and did you complete that dungeon?
Right.
Okay, then here's your multiplying loot drops.
And you might have like the thing that I absolutely do not want them to implement is the new lever system in WoW M+. That is the most god-awful system that anybody. It increased the toxicity of dungeons. It definitely made the power balance between tanks and healers over the rest of the group a lot worse. Sometimes it is impossible, and that's why I would say that there's probably maybe that there's a percentage that they have on their end where, you know, because they do have all the player count numbers, Executor. So in theory, what they could do is say these many dungeons are completed on average by the average player, the player. And this, so if you dip like, 3% below that, your multiplier gets reset, something along those lines. But I think directionally,
give them a streak saver. Give them a, like a thing you click on, like, okay, I have to leave this dungeon. I would like to consume my streak saver here. You know what I'm saying?
And you get like 2, and it refreshes every 15 or something.
Yeah, so something, where it's like, okay, I do have to leave, or I want to go ahead and get out of this particular party, but I don't want to break my streak. Give them a little bit of leeway. I don't know that I would make it as low as a 15-minute cooldown, because you want it to have more value to stay than to spend that free leave, so to speak.
Oh, well, so what I'm saying is you would have to go run complete another 15 dungeons to get your streak saver back.
To get it.
To
Okay,
refresh
I thought you were
it.
meaning on like a 15 minute.
No, not on a 15 minute. No. Like these boxes that we all love to.
Yeah. There you go.
That's it. Make this concept right here how your streak saver works. Right? Is that it refreshes on either. I mean, if you want to go just time, like I think 2 days is or 3 days is really punishing to people who are running a lot, who have the time to play a lot.
For sure.
But like 12 hours, maybe 6 to 12 hours, I could see that.
Or I like the idea of a number of run system. Even 10 completed runs. Regardless of whether or not you maintained a streak, if you complete 10 dungeons, you get another charge to a streak saver that then you can use.
Yeah. The executor says, what about refilling the group when someone leaves? Yeah, I think that they are currently working on autofill. Oh, what just happened? Something happened on a hype train. Wow, that we have not been streaming a lot. You get a hype train from one Prime sub.
The hype is real.
The hype is real. But we do appreciate that Prime sub, Jaffafa. Xander says the positive note is that unlike WoW, you don't have a depleting key, etc. to deal with. It's just an annoyance of having to requeue. I agree. It's much less punishing already. And having autofill will be a big winner. Now, if they put autofill in and Rose's idea was the one that they could use, well, now we get to troll the system by being the person that just sits here while I get autofilled because I keep entering the key, right? Like that's the. Although I guess you could solve that by not autofilling after timer is say 5 minutes over or something. You could limit the ability like that. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's workarounds for it. Also, I mean, drawing more players. You draw more players, you'll have faster queues. People will care less if they have to go back into queue. It feels bad when it happens and you have to go back in queue and you're waiting 10, 15 minutes. But, drawing more people and that queue's just going to get faster.
Yeah. And you'll be able to do more granular skill-based matchmaking, too. So you'll potentially have people that are working to learn the same content at the same time of a similar. Yep. I think it's good. And they're also putting in, working on guilds, I think, so you'll be able to rely less on the queue if you don't want to, but the solo queue is definitely going to be the way that they are going to be able to build and grow their player base, so they need to make sure that that's going well. So,
I do hope they add some sort of benefit to running with guild members.
Yeah, no,
you know what I'm saying? Like you're running a full guild party, you get guaranteed gem at the end of a dungeon or something. I don't know, but some sort of benefit so that it's not just okay. I'm in this guild, but I'm still pugging myself out for some reason.
Guild mounts to chase for guild completions.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
that would work, except that you would out level the guild you're in. So
I mean, that's just par for the course for me. I'm used to out leveling the group I'm in, regardless.
Those is, and he carries me along with him. I like it. It's a beautiful arrangement.
I just like to stretch your limits to an entire dungeon tier above where you're currently pushing.
Yeah,
nothing wrong with that.
No, it's good. And then I get better, and eventually I'll reach my limit, and you will have to find someone new to heal you.
No, executor, just no.
Yeah, you had to be here.
What do you mean? They already have Sylvie.
That's true. That character exists already, executor. All right. Well, now we're going to close out with our Patreon question of the week. No, we don't have a Patreon, but maybe Rose will set one up next time. Rose needs money to be a pro gamer, guys. So when he drops the Patreon one of these days, you're gonna have to go there so you can get exclusive access Rose's
exclusive access
insights about the game. For the Patreon
It's
only
builds,
content.
it's routes. It's all Patreon only. Is what I would say if I had it set up.
That's right. The no chance at failing routes. Rose does have really good
And
routes.
What's the holdup on this, or are we just?
Yeah, just time, family, obligations.
Time. This is day one for the podcast. I got a lot of work ahead of me, and then a lot of work ahead of me. You know what I mean? So,
Trust me, it's a nightmare.
I have to edit this thing. All right. Well,
exactly. Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us for the Fellows podcast. Have a
Don't
great
forget
time
to thank our
in Stronghold.
guests for coming along today.
Yes. Thank you, Arkham. Thank you.
Anytime.
We appreciate it. We'll have to after dinner. Maybe we'll run a couple dungeons.
I owed you after all the carries and such.
Did I just hear that I'm gonna have to heal though? Is that what you guys?
That's what you. Apparently, I've been demoted, so you are gonna have to heal.
Oh my
goodness. I guess we could start over. I could. Wait, on your tier list, which did you put as the easiest character to play? DPS wise?
Hilarion.
But Rhyme is only slightly.
I guess that's what I'm playing.
Rhyme is only slightly harder. Yeah.
Level your healer and I'll level my. Well, my Rhyme is a little bit.
I think my Rhyme and your Vigor are probably comparable. So, all right.
Sylvie, yeah.
Well, God bless you all. Have a great day. Have a great night. Thank you, stream. Thanks for hanging out.